Morning, close to Christmas, 18th of December. I never thought I would be in Brussels on the 18th of December, but here we are. So it's a big compliment already, guys. I mean, but the world keeps spinning. The world doesn't stop at November anyway, so it's good we're here. So there was a very strong leader of the Shell company, and his name was called Jeroen van der Veer, and he was the CEO for many, many years. And like most senior leaders, they have a motto. And his motto was, as you know, ESSA, E-S-S-A. So not SO, but ESSA. And that stands for come to the essential, secondly, simplify, thirdly, standardize, and then automate. And I always like these simple logos because if you touch an item like smarter cities, let's think about it. I mean, what's the essence? I mean, we always talk about smarter cities, and we know by now what is going to happen with smarter cities. So for me, there's not really a need to keep repeating that. We know. Smarter cities there, people start living there, da-da-da-da-da. We know. So let's make a next step. And the next step is how we can go faster by making these smarter cities work. So I'm pretty much down to the how statement. How statement. Before I do that, I'd like to give you my definition. So for me, a smarter city is really an urban area. It's not only a city, most times it's even a region. Yeah? And in the middle, there's a physical and a digital infrastructure in the middle. Around it, there are many applications like energy, like transport, like health, education, etc. And around that are consumers, people who want these services, who need these services and who want to pay for these services. And why do we now talk about smart cities? Because the smartness is in the fact that in the middle of that is similar data and information that we're going to use integrated. That's the smart element. So there's a city and there's a smart city, and to me that is the essence of it. And I'll give you an example. So the mayor of Rio, a few years ago, he was confronted with flooding in Rio. I never thought they had flooding in Rio, but they had flooding in Rio. So this leader, he said, listen, I have the Olympics coming up, the World Championships coming up, I need to do something. So he installed an integrated grid environment in his city. And he said, I like to get the flooding under control, but I like to make sure when the flooding comes up, my hospitals are already alerted, the police system is already alerted as well, we get people out of their houses, and that's, ladies and gentlemen, an example of an integrated approach. So I'm always keen to say these things because a city is a city, fine. But why do we make it smart? Because data, information and ICT is playing this integrated role. That would be my definition. And the final thing I simply like to share is the how. So I give you my experience of my European trips where I see cities, regions being successful. And I'll give you a few points and maybe they're of help. First, there is really a leader who wants to do something. Very critical. A mayor, a commissioner, whatever, a person, a warm body says, I want to do this. Secondly, what I learned is when these people set a realistic plan. So cities have certain assets. Certain cities have a history. They have a harbor, whatever they have. So likely they can come up with a value proposition that makes sense. And if they do that well, and if they do that realistic, and they use the assets, and they use the skills and the education system, then they have a credible value proposition. So that's the second point on there. The third point is that these mayors, regional leaders, they get boards together. And that's really down to partnership. So my example is from Amsterdam, where I'm in the board as well. The mayor is there, always there, very present. And he really brings public and private and university systems together. And trust me, the first meeting were chaotic. Because people don't listen to each other, they don't respect each other, they even don't understand each other. But after a while, you start to find out that this professor, who's always making his fingers upstairs, I have a point, he has something credible to say. But first you need to watch out that this is credible what he's saying. I did not understand it from the beginning, but it was useful. So the third point I learned, ladies and gentlemen, is that these boards, if you make them meaningful, then you really can get to real team up, real partnership. The final thing I want to mention here, I have more, but I need to stick to my time, is we need to use differentiators these days. So in my view, consumers and technology are two huge differentiators we need to use these days. So think about the world of social and mobile. I mean, on average, people take their handy 150 times per day. I saw a recent research that we all grab to our phone at an average of 150 times per day. You know, Lambert is already above it today. He picked it already over 20 times. So the consumer space is changing, social, mobile, open, etc. And these people are getting very knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable. So use this army in the best possible way. Don't think that these people are stupid. They are useful people. So use these citizens' lab, if you will. And secondly, technology. I mean, I meet too often people who don't understand technology, who don't understand what the power of social and mobile really is going to be. So we need to do a lot of education to help people understand what the opportunities are, so that they step away from only looking to the risky part, but also look to the opportunistic part of the house, if you will. So there are a few things I learned over time, and we can talk about it later, what makes these cities successful. Two final comments. I think with smarter cities we should not create new chaos. New chaos. Right, it's coming from Europe to the national institutions to the cities. Great, lower the center of gravity, beautiful. But if all cities of the world start to become the greenest city of the world or the safest cities of the world, then we create new chaos. So we need to do a kind of governance that we use gravity in a much more sensible way. And you cannot dictate these things. They need to be done in a certain smartness through people like here on the table. And the second point I'd like to make and conclude, what I learned as well, there are always what I call irritators. Things that are always in the way. Yeah? So security, Paul, you're right. It is an issue. Data privacy, we didn't crack the code yet. Yeah? Incentive systems, payment, it is a point. But we need to sometimes separate these things a little bit, because otherwise all these people are talking about these irritators. Let them go with the opportunistic side, and let some smart people think about these severe files we need to crack the code on together. So that's net, ladies and gentlemen, what I see. So I'm very optimistic about this one, because I see a lot of mayors region getting ready, but we need to help them not to create new chaos, but use the flow, use citizens, use the gravity, if you will. That would be my plea of this morning. Thank you.